Hello, my name is William, the Avid reader, and today I'm reviewing the first volume of The Dark Tower, The Gunslinger, written by Stephen King, or published by Stephen King in 1982. So this is a collection of 5 short stories that follow each other, written between 1978 and 1981. And this is a fantasy series. This is the Stephen King's fantasy series, and he's been inspired by Tolkien, he says. And there are 5 parts, but you could say that there are maybe 3 acts or 3 no. So the 5 parts of the story. So the first part we get to learn about the Gunslinger. So a Gunslinger is the law enforcement in that fantasy world, and he's the last of his kind. All the other ones are dead, and he's called Roland. And he walks around in the desert, and he meets a dweller, and later who has a parrot named Sultan or bird. Later he comes upon a village. He meets a bunch of people there. He has he develops a relationship with the woman there, but there is this congregationalist, like this religious fanatic leader, a bit like in the Miss, the Mrs. Comedy, a bit like her, and she galvanizes the people of the village to attack Roland, and they're taken over by demons, and he has often these visions, and he believes there are demons in different things, and this is a fantasy universe. And they attack him, and he kills them with his 2 revolvers, so it's a massacre, even if they stab him several times. And that's the first part of the story. The second part, he gets to meet a child from New York. He's from Florida, I think. But Roland is from Florida, the child's from New York. And he gets to meet Jake. And Jake was originally considering killing him, but decided not to. And they start developing a father-son relationship, slowly but surely. And or maybe even a brotherly relationship. And the fourth part is their journey. So, for example, Roland explains his origin story to Jake, where you have to do this training to become a gunslinger, and to become one, the final part is you have to duel with your teacher, so he duels with Court, and he has the genius idea of using his falcon David as his secret weapon, or as his weapon, and he wins. And then he becomes a gunslinger, and he's the last of his kind, and he gets often visions, and we see the man in black from time to time. They first are in the desert, then they're in mountains, and then they're on rails. And there they have to pump the instrument to make the train cart move. And here they get to meet the slow mutants, and the slow mutants are in these like these half-dead people with glowing eyes, and while they come at a stop, since the slow mutants have created obstacles with stones. So Jake is picking up the stones while Roland is shooting them, or the gunslinger. They don't really refer to him as Roland, and Roland has had a previous love interest called Susan. He's from a place called Gilead. And they go on the train cart, and later they get into a situation, and Jake falls off from something, since they've been on the rails and I think on a narrow road, and there's emptiness other ways, and Jake falls, and the gunslinger gets finally to meet the man in black, and he's met him a couple of times previously for short periods, but this time he gets to meet him fully. So the final part is him talking with Man in Black, and the Man in Black on telling him on what he should do, because the gunslinger has to follow the Man in Black to come to the Dark Tower. But the Man in Black has said that you cannot get to the Man in Black without Jake. So that's why Jake's gone. I'm not sure if he's dead. It's not clear. He just falls off. And they discuss. The Man in Black explain what he has to do. He says that to find the tower, he has to go to a beach. And afterwards, after explaining for some time, he shows him visions of different things, and then darkness. And then one night they fall asleep, and the gunslinger has considered previously killing him. But when he wakes up, the gunslinger has aged 10 years, and the Man in Black has turned into a skeleton, and he's dead, but he has a grin. And you've got these weird grins in this book, so he rips off his jaw, and then he goes to the beach, and that's where he stops. The book stops. It's a very short book. Yeah. 80s book. The future volumes are much longer, but yes, this is a short book, and some things that happen in it are very weird. You don't know why they're really happening, but I've learned recently that the Stephen King universe, everything is connected, so eventually it will be understood what all this symbolism is meant. But the book is, to sum up the book, it is the journey of a man in the desert with a kid, and explaining his origin story. Yes. This is a fantasy book, and it's interesting, and it's a decent book. It's not, I don't consider this really a great book, but it's not bad either. It's just like average, above average. Usually what I read is okay. There are decent books usually, so this is a decent book, so not sure what I'm gonna give this. Maybe, how do I rate this? 6 or 7 out of 10. Not a bad book, it's okay. But yeah, not one of the greatest reads. I've only read this book and The Mist from Stephen King, and I preferred much more The Mist. The Mist is a great book, I consider that 9 out of 10. But yeah, so that's the first volume of The Dark Tower, The Gunslinger, published in 1982 by Stephen King and written by him previously. And yes, so decent book, not the greatest, not the worst. So that was the Avid Reader's review of The Gunslinger, the first volume of The Dark Tower, written by Stephen King. I hope you enjoyed this video review, and I will see you guys soon.